Hey, Queen. I'm Vieira Miles, and this is the Holistic Sister Circle podcast, a show where we hear the stories of soulful women all over the world dedicated to sharing insight into why holistic health is the future and what women should do today to ensure they have the necessary tools and resources to bring out their inner royal roots, assess their body, and remedy any illness from the comfort of their home. Y'all, we are setting the royal record straight, okay? If you'd like to connect with us further, you can follow us at The Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and join the Holistic Sister Circle Facebook group for live interviews, collaborative Q&A, and exclusive training on how to build your wellness dream team. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. See you on the other side. Welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. Today we have Melissa with us, and Melissa is an integrative mind-body health practitioner and trainer of NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnotherapy, and is dedicated to guiding individuals toward their best lives. Melissa also hosts the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast, offering concise, practical advice for health and mindset, embodying her commitment to holistic well-being. Melissa is also the co-founder of Girls Matter, keeping girls in school in Uganda and Kenya, helping stop teenage marriages. Melissa, welcome. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you so much, Vera. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So one of the things, and for you all who are just listening for the first time, Melissa and I were just on a call a couple of hours ago, and it was another podcast that we were on and doing just more of collaborations and partnerships. And one of the things that I would love to ask just to start us off is, when it comes to collaborations and partnerships and just the work that you're currently doing right now, you are wearing so many different hats in this space. What are you most passionate about through these collaborations?
I am most passionate about the people that I get to meet along the way. So much of who we are and how we show up in the world is because of our frequency level. And that frequency level is impacted by the people that we choose to hang around. And all of my collaborations just lead me to these incredible human beings that raise my vibration, and together we all lift each other up. And that's what I'm most passionate about. It not only the work we do, of course that's important, however, just being able to elevate together and raise each other up is so powerful.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. And of course, that was one of the things that we talked about earlier as well, just the power of community and networking. And I know a lot of the ladies here can also relate, because this is something that we talk about all the time. How can we continue to grow? How can we help each other? And what does that process actually look like? Because at the end of the day, there's room for everybody at the table. We don't need to fight each other to try to get the number one spot, because we're all different and we're all unique. Can you share with us just a little bit about your story and your background, just some of the things that I didn't cover that maybe haven't even reached the internet yet?
So to do a big, like an overview, but go way back, I'm actually born in Australia, raised in Japan. So I spent 11 years in Japan, finished high school, university in Australia, and then went off traveling around the world for 2 years. And I was very fortunate, even as a young child, at the age of 6 years old, I was studying the country of Micronesia in grade 1. And my parents were like, where should we go on summer vacation? And I kept coming home from school talking about this island of Truk, Truk. And they're like, let's go there. So at 6 years old, there I was in this place called Micronesia on the island of Truk that was so small that my 6-year-old legs and my brother's 4-year-old legs were able to walk around the circumference of the island in one day. And that was my first insight to life in a third world country. And from that moment on, all of my travels, I very often frequented third world countries, and I saw the different living standard. But what I also saw was how much joy they had in their life, how they would give you the shirt off their back, even when they had nothing else. And yet I also knew from the world that I lived in, that there were so many people that didn't have joy, and yet they had so much stuff. And buying more stuff they thought would make them happy. And so I learned at a very young age that money doesn't buy happiness, and there's so much more to life. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And the other thing, and I know this is going to sound crazy, is when I was 13 years old, my father passed away suddenly. And I was the oldest of 4 kids, and my youngest sister was only 3. And everything is happening for us. I talk about this all the time. And in the moment, that was very tragic. And yet I look back at that with a semblance of gratitude, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't go through that. I have gratitude that I got to know my father for 13 years versus only 3. And I also have gratitude because going through that experience really taught me what matters in life. And so when I look at how other people spend their time, and a lot of it can be spent in drama or woe is me or I'm a victim, I've never gone there. And when I wonder why is that, I've now started to realize it's because of what I learned going through that experience, and what's important in life. And I have the blessing of an incredible mother who taught me to be the optimist. Look at the goodness in everything. Put yourself in someone else's shoes before you try to judge them. And she also taught me that I could be anything that I wanted to be. And that was different from her generation, when her choices were a secretary or a nurse or a teacher. And again, looking back with all that I know today, I'm so grateful that she instilled that in me, because it impacted my mindset in a really positive way, that I can go out and do these things. I can make a difference in the world. And I just have to figure out, I just have to know my why, as I said earlier on the show. And then the how starts to fall into place. And when people say no to me, you can't do that, I'm like, well, let me find a way. I don't just shut down and stop. And so none of that's found the internet. And that's part of my journey to getting to where I'm at today. And, there's also the part that is on the internet, that I was in the corporate world for 24 years, loved my corporate job. And then one day, big fish bought little fish, and I was let go with an hour to clear out my desk and no word of thanks. And that hurt. And I could have gone into, victimhood and woe is me. Or I chose to go, okay, this is the first day of the rest of my life. What do I get to do now? I want to do something completely different. What's it going to be? I have no idea. I'm open to being guided. However, it has to be more of service to the planet and humanity. And I was very much guided into health and wellness, and into this work of being of service, and into being able to start my nonprofit as part of my work towards improving humanity, keeping girls in school. The ripple effect of that is massive, because an educated mother is more than twice as likely to make sure her own children are educated. So it's a generational ripple effect. And so those are the kind of steps that I went through to end up where I'm at today. And after I got let go, my 2 daughters ended up both getting concussions at a very similar time. And I wasn't working full time, so I started going to their appointments with the physical therapist with them and guiding their healing journey. And that was my first foray into that, because I knew they couldn't go to the appointments and then come home and tell me what they were told to do, because of course the healing doesn't happen at the appointment. It's the steps you take between the sessions in order to remind them to do it. So I went with them. And then I'm in a small town, so people knew our story. Other people started asking for help and advice with concussions in their families. And then I was invited to work in a clinic. And I wanted to do that and help people. And I couldn't, because I couldn't get insurance, because I didn't have a certification. And that's what sent me back to school. And I started in health coaching school. And I loved it. From the moment I got there, I was like, wow, this is my passion. This is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And how is it that I'm in my 40s and I don't even know this about my own body? What if I could share this with other people? And so that's where down the road, the podcast came from that idea, as well as just sharing those little action steps people can take on their health journey, which I'm sure in this circle, all of you are very familiar with. And then I was introduced to the Integrative Health Practitioner organization, where I could run functional medicine labs to see inside someone's body what was going on, what were their deficiencies in minerals and vitamins, what were their toxicity levels, what were their imbalances in their hormones and their inflammation levels, so that we could rebalance all of that, get to the root cause, and their body would start healing itself. And then from there, again, the universe always gives you what you want, right? I'm sitting there wondering, how come some people can take my wellness plan and follow it to perfection and get really great results? And other people, they start with the best of intentions and then they just get stuck and they fall off and they're beating themselves up and they don't know why. So I was wondering that in my head. And then I had a naturopathic doctor reach out to me through LinkedIn, and we had a coffee chat, and she started talking to me about the world's most powerful mind-body tools, where we could work with people to actually rewire their childhood programming, rewire the neurology, because that childhood program is what was getting them stuck. That was like, oh, I got it now. So we rewire that, which we can do with grace, with ease, so that they can actually move through and get the results they want. Because really, whose 5-year-old is qualified to run their life? And there's a lot of people that still have their inner 5-year-old running their life. And so that's been the journey. And when I found these tools and I saw how effective they were and how gentle and yet powerful, I just wanted to share this with the world. So I kept going to become a trainer so that I could train other practitioners, other people who are maybe looking at going into counseling and then going, wait a minute, I don't want to do 3 more years of school. I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. How else can I get the tools I need in order to be of the utmost service to people who need it? And right now, there's a lot of people with a lot of trauma, and we can release it without them even having to talk about it, because the unconscious mind already knows what happened. We just need the learnings, and we release the stuff down emotion, and we set them on the path to their magnificence. And it's been an incredible journey getting here. And I'm so grateful for every step of the way.
Wow, that's incredible. And for me, I'm just so grateful that you're even sharing this portion of your life with us, just starting off with your dad and losing him at such a young age. Do you feel that had any, do you feel like the relationship with your dad, did it help or hinder you in any way from reaching these next levels of success within yourself and within your business? And I'm asking this question because I know a lot of our ladies too, sometimes they may not have a father figure in their life. And, you know, just as our moms are important, our dads are so much valued. They're just as valuable. And sometimes with that comes just different decisions that we may have would have made, we may have had made or may have not made. So I would just love to know, how had that experience helped or hindered any area of your life moving forward?
So what I really tapped into very soon after my father died was a spiritual side of me that I really hadn't known was there. And what I mean by that is, I felt for years like I carried him with me on both shoulders. He was just always there. And if I had a decision that I needed to make and I didn't know how to make that decision, I would check in with him to help me in that decision-making process. And I just kind of naturally fell into that. So even though he wasn't physically with me, I felt his presence and his support. When I got into the corporate world, and then by then I was an adult too, I was 22, 23 when I got into the corporate world. The corporate world kind of, I've found, tends to push all of that spirituality out of you, right? It's busy, you're working 60-hour weeks and it's go, go, go. And I wasn't as focused on that anymore. And I think part of my conscious mind was telling me, well, you're an adult now, you can do this on your own, right? However, when I got let go from the corporate world, I very quickly stumbled back into that spiritual side of me and realized it's still there. It's always was there. I was just ignoring it in my busyness and my do world. And therefore, so is that support. And it's not just from my father, it's from all the people in my life that I've lost, that I can still tap into that, and we all can. And so I'm not going to say that his passing helped or hindered. It's just a different way of moving through life with that person who's physically left us, but can still be with us or is still with us, and we can still connect with them if we choose to.
Yeah, I certainly love that. And one of the things that really tie into this too, that you were just talking about, was with your dad, with the people that you've had in your life, whether they had passed at an earlier age or just the things that you went through with your children, just the amount of collaboration and support that really is needed to get a dream going. And now that you, again, have all of these different businesses and segments to your business, can you share a little bit about what it's looked like to create this team around you? Because energy is so important. And as you're continuously growing and thriving and moving mountains, it's also important to have a team around you that can really help in that area and is actually going to help build and not tear down. So
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about, like, how are you picking your team members to help collab with you in these different ventures, and what does that process look like for you?
Well, I'm going to have to say that first of all, we all lived through this pandemic. And one great thing that came out of that pandemic is the ability to network on Zoom, because I live in a small town. And so previous to the pandemic, my networking consisted of 2 monthly networking meetings. One was my chamber meeting, and then one was a breakfast meeting. So twice a month, I would see people for networking. Versus once the pandemic happened, all of a sudden, all of this networking opened up on Zoom, where I didn't have to drive anywhere. I could just stay in my office and bounce from one networking meeting to the next. And all of a sudden, I was meeting people from all over the world. And I love meeting people. I love to get curious about people, who they are today, where they came from, what challenges they've been through, and really understand that. And when I meet people, I also think of, who else can I connect you with? And then those people were doing that for me as well. So I was meeting a lot of people, and still today meet a lot of people every single month. And I absolutely love that. And so in terms of the people who have come really into my inner circle, those are the people that over time I've spent more time with. So I meet them on a networking call and I have some level of connection with them. So then we do a one-to-one, coffee meet. And then there might be an opportunity to, do a podcast together, or some kind of summit together, or if they're close to me, physically close to me, maybe meet in person, to take that relationship to a deeper level. And over time, that relationship becomes literally like a sister relationship with all the people that I have around me now. And we connect heart to heart. We connect mind to mind. And we have a deep common interest in serving humanity in some way, whether it's in Amplify Results coaching and helping other coaches attain the designations that they need in order to be able to ramp up their business and ramp up their pricing and have designations that they can really stand on that are recognized in 40 countries around the world, or whether it's in Girls Matter, just having a common mission of wanting to make a difference in the lives of girls that we may never meet, and yet knowing that we've impacted their lives is incredibly fulfilling. And so it comes back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, where I saw the joy that people in third world countries were living with and the lack of joy in first world countries. And it's because in the first world countries, people aren't fulfilled enough. And when we help other human beings, that's where we get our fulfillment from. When we volunteer, when we choose to support others, that is what drives me. and makes me want to get up every day and make a difference in the world. And in Girls Matter, we've just recently done this incredible project that I'm super proud of. Is it okay if I share?
Yeah, of course.
So we've had one lady graduate. So we've had 4 university graduates now. We started in January 2017. A whole bunch more girls are still in high school. And we had one girl graduate from vocational school last year as a seamstress, last December. So we then loaned her money to buy a sewing machine so that she could start her business. Because when she left school, she didn't have access to a sewing machine anymore. And we'd seen the amazing products she'd been making at school. And then we were asked by the community, could we please send over clothes? They needed more clothes. And that would be really easy for us to gather up clothes and ship it over. The shipping costs would be crazy. However, when we started looking into it, we realized the clothes might never get to the girls because they get as far as the customs officers, who then might be like, ooh, North American clothes, I can sell these myself and pocket the money. So we decided to instead send money to Evelyn so that she could buy fabric locally and make clothes for the girls in the community. And that is what is now happening, that she is making a new dress for every girl, every teenage and older girl in the community right now. And for most of them, it's the first time they've ever had a new dress. And the photos that I'm getting of these girls in their brand new dresses is just heartwarming. And I love the fact that there's so many wins to this. The girls are getting a new dress that allows, they get to wear that dress with pride and have self-confidence. Very often when I get photos from them, I don't see smiles. And in these dresses, I'm seeing smiles now. And for Evelyn, well, helping her start her business and build an income, because we're paying her to do this as well. And all of those girls are wearing her dresses, which is now advertising her business. And so it's a win-win-win. And that's the type of work that I love to do and that gets me up every day. And that's how other people can tap into their best life as well.
This is so incredible, Melissa. Like, there's so many, from the work that you do, from the work that these ladies are doing too, there are just so many different things that I'm just thinking about that everyone can honestly take away. And when I think about this as well, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like what you're just communicating with us right now, you're giving me even more ideas of some of the things that I could do, or just some of different initiatives that we could take and how we can just make our community better, and not just our community from a local perspective, but what does that look like globally? What does that look like in other countries? And I'm just very grateful for this experience. Now, before we turn it over to our lovely guests that are on here, and I'm sure they have a ton of questions as well, do you have any practical steps that you could share with our audience when it really comes to looking of just different ways of how you could actually grow your practice, and how you've been able to do that in your own practice, and what are some initiatives that you currently have in addition to Girls Matter that you would love to share with us?
Sure. So one of the things that I learned back at a conference I was at in 2016 was to never stop learning, find your passion, be of service, and you don't have to know the how, just the why. So that never stop learning piece is really, really key for me. As I said, from the moment I got into health coaching, I went through that program, then I was introduced to integrative health, and then into NLP. And that is incredibly powerful because I have so many tools in my toolbox now to work with people no matter where they're at in their journey. My focus is definitely health. That's my predominant focus. My training partner, who has many of the same credentials, she's a police officer, right? And she is a real estate investor. So she tends to focus on helping people enhance their wealth, while I'm focusing on the health. And together we focus on the happy, for happy, healthy, wealthy. And
Yes.
so it's all about, you want to get the training that you need for whatever it is that you want to deliver. and practice that and do that really well, but don't think that's the end, because there is always more. And are there better ways of doing what you're doing? Because we're learning so much about the mind right now as well. And be open to that. Be open to new learning. And so that's one answer to the question. Another really pivotal piece is understanding, who are you serving? And I know we've heard that before, and it was something that I heard for a few years before I really nailed down that avatar. And so speak to that one avatar. We have to get really precise so that that person knows, oh, she's speaking to me. I want what she has. When we try to speak to everybody, because we can all serve everybody, your messaging gets lost. And so as hard as it is, and it was really hard for me to do this because I did really want to serve everybody, narrowing down your avatar so you're speaking to one person still allows others to come in. And it took me a while to figure that out. So those are two key points in being able to expand and build your business. And the sooner you nail that avatar, the sooner your business starts to take off.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for this. This has been super beneficial, and just really getting to know your story a little bit more, your background, and just, how you've come to what you do today. So I certainly appreciate that. And Queen, thank you so much for tuning in. It truly warms our heart that you're taking the time out of your day to connect with us. If you'd like to connect with our guests further, you can find their information located in the description section of this episode. And if you found this episode helpful, share with another queen. And don't forget to connect with the Holistic Sister Circle on Instagram and Facebook. And until next week, stay blessed. Mwah.